Welcome. So, have you ever stared at a spreadsheet just packed with numbers and felt kind of lost? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to build your very own data detective toolkit. We're going to learn how to actually find the story hiding in the numbers, figure out where any single piece of data fits in, and even how to spot those mysterious outliers that just don't seem to belong. All right, let's dive right in with a classic stats puzzle. So you have Alice, who scores a 1200 on the SAT, and Bob, who gets a 28 on the ACT. Now, at first glance, you'd probably think, well, Alice, obviously. 1200 is a way bigger number than 28. But hold on a second. We're comparing apples and oranges here. These are totally different tests with completely different scoring systems. So the real question is, how do we figure out who really performed better? The answer to our puzzle lies in our very first tool, the Z-score. I love to think of it as a universal translator for data. It's this brilliant little tool that lets us take values from completely different worlds, like the SAT and the ACT, and put them on one single common playing field. It's how we can finally make a true direct comparison. So, what is a Z-score really telling us? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. It's just the number of standard deviations, you can think of those as standard steps, that a data point is away from the average of its group. It's really the perfect way to measure just how ordinary or how extraordinary a particular value is. Okay, now you're looking at two formulas here, and I know those Greek letters can look a little intense, but don't worry about it. They both do the exact same thing. The one on the left is for when you've got data for an entire population, and the one on the right is for when you're just working with a smaller sample. The core idea, the calculation, it's exactly the same for both. And this is why Z-scores are so incredibly powerful. They're what we call dimensionless, which is just a fancy way of saying we can use them to compare literally anything. The rules couldn't be simpler. If you get a positive Z-score, you're above average. A negative score, you're below average. And a Z-score of 0, that means you are perfectly smack dab in the middle average. Okay, time to put this tool to work and solve our mystery. Let's start with Alice. We're going to take her score, 1200. Then we subtract the average SAT score, which is 1060. And finally, we divide that result by the standard deviation of 217. So what do we get? Alice's Z-score is about 0.65. What that means is her SAT score was 0.65 standard steps above the average for all the people who took the SAT. That's a solid performance for sure. Definitely better than average. Now it's Bob's turn. We're going to do the exact same thing. We take his score of 28, subtract the average ACT score of 21, and then divide that by its standard deviation, which is 5.2. And look at that. Bob's Z-score is about 1.35. That means his score was a full 1.35 standard deviations above the average for everyone who took the ACT. So he was actually further above his group's average than Alice was from hers. And this brings us to our final verdict. Even though Alice had that much bigger raw score, it's Bob's Z-score that's higher. So Bob actually performed better relative to his peers. See? That's the magic of our universal translator. So we figured out how to compare people across different groups. That's huge. But what if you just want to know where you stand within your own group? Well, for that, we need our next set of tools, percentiles and quartiles. I'm sure you've heard of percentiles before. If your exam score is in the 90th percentile, that does not mean you got a 90% on the test. It means you outperformed 90% of all the other people who took it. It's all about your rank, not just your performance. Now, quartiles are really just specific percentiles that we use all the time. They work by taking all your data, lining it up in order, and then slicing it into 4 equal parts. So the first quartile, or Q1, that's the 25th percentile. Q2 is the 50th percentile, which you probably already know as the median. And Q3 marks the 75th percentile. Easy. This brings us to a really important concept, the interquartile range, or IQR for short. You just calculate it by subtracting Q1 from Q3. Now, this number is super powerful because it tells you the spread of the middle 50% of your data. And here's the key. Because it completely ignores the bottom 25% and the top 25%, it's not thrown off by super high or super low values, what we call outliers. Let's just walk through a quick example to make this real. For this data set, which is already nicely in order for us, the median, that's Q2, is 10. To find Q1, we just find the median of the lower half of the data, which is 6.
For Q3, we find the median of the upper half, which is 16.5. Now we just subtract Q1 from Q3 and we get our IQR of 10.5.
All right, detective, it is time for our final tool. We know how to compare values, we know how to find our rank, but what about those strange data points that just don't seem to fit in? How do we officially identify a value that's so far from the rest of the group that it deserves a closer look? That's what we call an outlier. And outliers are incredibly important because they can signal a mistake, like a typo in your data. But they can also represent something genuinely rare and significant, a scientific breakthrough, a record-breaking performance, you name it. So to find outliers, we have a clear formal procedure. It's known as the 1.5 times IQR rule. It's a really simple 4-step process. First, you find your quartiles and calculate that IQR. Then you use the IQR to build these imaginary fences around your data, which defines what we consider the normal range. Let's see it in action. Let's say our Q1 is 25 and our Q3 is 75. Our IQR is just 75 minus 25, which is 50. To find the lower fence, we multiply that IQR by 1.5 and subtract it from Q1, giving us negative 50. For the upper fence, we multiply the IQR by 1.5 again and add it to Q3, which puts us at 150. Now you really want to pay close attention here because this is a little detail that trips a lot of people up. To be an outlier, a value has to be strictly outside the fences. So in our example, a value of 150 is right on the fence, so it's not an outlier. But a value of 151? Yep, that's over the line. That is definitely an outlier. And just like that, you've added 3 incredibly powerful instruments to your data detective toolkit. Let's do a quick recap of exactly what you've learned. So you now have z-scores, your universal translator for making fair comparisons. You've got quartiles and the IQR to understand your rank and measure the spread of the main chunk of your data. And you have the 1.5 IQR rule, which is a clear, objective method for identifying any potential outliers. And this brings us to our final and maybe the most important question. These statistical tools are amazing, right? They can pinpoint an outlier for you, no problem. But what they can't do is tell you what that outlier actually means. That right there is where the real detective work begins. Is it just a typo that you need to fix, or is it a groundbreaking discovery that could change everything? That's the part that's up to you to investigate.